I first of all would like to welcome the fact that by and large there is general, I think, appreciation for the content of this bill. I suppose with the exception of the last speaker. And certainly people primarily on our left have said that they are supporting the bill. But I am disappointed that both the Minister and Fianna Fáil are willing to kick this down the road. I described this as the Do-Nothing Dáil here last Friday, and I'm afraid we have another example of pushing away a decision that we believe needs to be made now. And in fairness, and I think Deputy Byrne made this point, we could have, at committee stage, we could have taken the opportunity to tease out the issues that are of concern. So in that sense, I'm particularly disappointed that the government has tabled the amendment that it has tabled. And I don't see why, for example, and I welcome the fact that the Minister is now saying he proposes to publish the admissions bill in this term, because I think the last statement I heard from him was further down the road. But I don't see any reason why the two bills could not be going side by side. So I think it's particularly disappointing that the government has tabled the amendment that it has. But this is an effort by the Labour Party to make more incremental progress on these issues, which do require balance and do require us to be measured in terms of what we do. But the Labour Party in government has always addressed issues of equality, and in fact when Dick Spring became Taoiseach back in the 1990s, he created a place at the Cabinet table for equality, and the then Minister Mervyn Taylor initiated the Employment Equality Act and started the work also on the Equal Status Act. And those bills, those two pieces of legislation, have formed the bedrock of progress on eradicating discrimination across many areas of Irish life. And I suppose we were in opposition for quite a long time, but then we came back into government in 2011 and again addressed many of the equality issues, I suppose the most obvious one being the marriage equality referendum, which the people, thankfully in their wisdom, decided to open their hearts to and make a reality. But there was also considerable progress in the education area, and my predecessor, Rory Quinn, when he became Minister for Education and Skills, very early on established the Forum on Patronage and Pluralism. And as a result of its recommendations, there were a number of measures taken, including wherever there was an establishment of new schools, that parents were consulted on their what they wanted as a patronage system. And that has resulted in most of the new schools established since 2011 being multi-denominational schools. And he also initiated the divestment programme, which I think we all acknowledge has gone slower than we would have wanted it to go. But nevertheless, it was commenced. It did get the support of patrons, including the Catholic patrons, and the Archbishop of Dublin in particular showed leadership on this. It ran into difficulties at local level. And certainly when I was Minister, I met with the various patron bodies in order to see if we could untangle some of the local difficulties. And I know that the Minister has committed to continuing that work, and I welcome that. But there was a 43% increase in the number of multi-denominational schools during the time of the last government, and a 54% increase in the number of children attending such schools since 2011. And when I became Minister, I also, as Deputy Burton has said, revoked Rule 68, which placed religious instruction as the most important subject in schools, irrespective of their ethos. And I wish the Minister well in achieving the targets that he has set out in terms of increasing diversity in our schools. Deputy Burton has outlined the background to the bill, both in terms of the constitutional provisions and the historic developments of schools in Ireland, and there is a balance to be achieved. You know, we've had what has grown up has grown up. It wasn't the original intention back in the 19th century when the national school system was first set up. But in these areas, I think you make progress incrementally. It isn't a system that you can turn around overnight. There are issues of ownership apart from anything else. But there is a particular issue that we were very concerned about and wanted to address, and that is the question of parents baptising their children into a religion that they don't believe in. And I find that fundamentally wrong. And we wanted to do something about that. And this bill is drafted to address the reasons why some parents feel forced to take such a course of action. And while, again, there has been a general view here expressed that all parties agree with us that this is wrong and this shouldn't happen, I haven't actually heard of any other practical suggestions in the debate as to how you might deal with this, apart from what we're putting forward in our bill. And I fundamentally disagree with Deputy Shortall that this bill isn't doing anything. It is. It is putting in a provision whereby denominational schools can't give preference to children of that denomination outside the catchment area ahead of other children within the catchment area who are not of that denomination. So it's just not true to say that it's not doing anything progressive. It is also true that 80% of schools are not oversubscribed, and therefore the issue doesn't arise in those schools. And in fact, certainly from my experience of going into a number of schools in the last couple of years, there are denominational schools in this country, Catholic denominational schools, a lot of them in our poorer parts of our cities, that are great at being inclusive, and you know, schools where you've got 20 or 30 different nationalities and a whole variety of faiths I have come across. But the problem is where the demand exceeds the number of places, and the current situation allows for a school's admissions policy to give priority to children of the denomination of the school who live outside the catchment area ahead of local children of other denominations or none. And that's where the baptisms of convenience arise. But I do also want to clarify, and again Deputy Burton has spoken about this, that catchment doesn't automatically mean the local parish, although in the case of, by and large, of Catholic schools, they tend to define it as the local parish. In the case of a minority religion, it could in some cases cover, maybe as Deputy Burton has said, half a county, but it could also actually cover a number of counties. And certainly from my own experience, that is the case. And I believe it could also specify other like-minded churches, because somebody raised the issue of where, for example, you have a Church of Ireland school that takes in, I think it's the minister actually, Presbyterians or Methodists or whatever, you know, that could also be specified within the admissions policy of the particular school. We want to make it absolutely clear that this bill is carefully drafted in order to respect and protect the right of minority religions to protect the ethos of their schools. And, you know, if you just simply abolished Section 7.3c of the Equal Status Act, then you would not be protecting the ethos of minority schools. And that is the issue that we have identified in terms of simply abolishing the section. And I think that, and I think Deputy Byrne referred to the fact that the Church of Ireland had contacted him. I spoke with the representative of the Church of Ireland today, and you know, made the assurance that, you know, our intention is not to wipe out minority religion schools, but that in fact they can define their catchments obviously in a much broader way than a local parish Catholic school. Now, I know that some people feel the bill doesn't go far enough, others are satisfied with the status quo, but I would urge again members in this House to support this bill, which is designed to bring fairer access for children to their local school and to develop on the progress that's already been made in Ireland of making it a more inclusive place for children, irrespective of their background. And I think Deputy Martin very well expressed the need to do that in the broader context of attitudes that are hardening in various parts of the world, including Ireland. Children benefit from meeting and getting to know classmates from various backgrounds and religions. Diversity in our schools is an opportunity for our society, not something that we should feel threatened by. And so again, for that reason, I do find it very disappointing that the government is deciding to kick this down the road for 12 months. This isn't new politics. It is, as I said, a do-nothing Dáil, and we've seen so many more examples of things being kicked down the road and not being decided upon. So I would again urge that the government would particularly rethink that particular timescale, especially as the admissions bill is now going to be brought forward earlier. And so I really do believe that we don't need this, what was described as this need for broader consultation. We can do it within the committee, in committee stage. And the Forum for Patronage and Pluralism has already very widely engaged on this issue under an independent chairman. So I do believe that this is putting off something that we need to do right now for the parents of children right now who are worried that they won't be able to get their child into the local school.
Thank you very much, Deputy O'Sullivan. Minister